Check. There it is. Hear me? Perfect.
So even we don't really need it for the size of the room, but we do need it for the recording, so.
Perfect. No worries.
Does this appear to be running? Yeah, it does.
Awesome.
So it's gonna be whatever's on the screen. Okay.
Cool.
There you go, nice. To the face. That is quite a picture.
I guess somebody won that knockout, huh?
Germany to destroy 35 tons of fidget spinners.
I need one. I'm fidgeting, especially in meetings. Can't sit right beyond longer than an hour. I'm just, she knows after an hour, I'm like, okay, let me out. You've seen that. I mean, I don't know. Can't sit.
You are just not.
I can't sit.
Some of us are all about the slow. So I'm thinking a lot about this lately. The second
My
one
husband's
sounds
really
really
good.
good.
And so, like, I worked really hard on Saturday. Like, I did a bunch of physically active things more so than I usually do. And I was like, I feel satisfied that I did that. And I hate that my body can't really do it as well as it should. You know, it's like, my mind is always active, right? It's like I can't have my mind and my body be all, where's the time that both of those things go? And I don't want that. Like, it's like, yes.
That's my thing. It's like it always goes on. So I don't know, it's like your body has to rest because your mind, my mind's just on.
Yes. This is,
This is what I put on my Instagram. It's like, you're gonna get this. See?
It is. I will tell you, I had earplugs in, and when I hit submit on Zoom, I could feel my heart pulse. Oh my God! But still, and
I don't do
to
this.
see that, I had to close my eyes and submit to see like the benefits of your brain.
Oh, yeah.
Totally agree.
All the tabs open all the time.
But this is why.
And your
I have
message
this
is,
retreat
you know that
that
I
goes
have
every
that,
night
that
in my brain.
Nikki has.
She has
3
1,000.
times as many.
Oh,
because
yeah.
She cannot
Yes.
close them.
Yeah.
I do reach it where I can.
Good to have Liz.
All right.
Do you need anything else?
No, I think I'm good. Are you guys ready? Perfect. My name's Stephen Law. For those of you that I haven't met you, I think I met everybody in here. I'm with Wolters Kluwer, or you may know us better as Lippincott. So before I get started, it's a small group, so you guys just stop me at any time, okay? I think we have about an hour and a half. I'll try to rush through most of it. Tell me a little bit about what you're looking for. I mean, obviously you called me here for a reason. So goals, objectives, kind of what, the timing of whatever change you're looking at making, if there's a change at all.
Some of these people represent part of a task force that I asked to look at all of the resources that are currently being required across our curriculum.
Okay.
So we're finding there's a lot of overlap and
Sure.
things that students are required to purchase that don't really get used.
Right.
And so we are trying to save students money,
Okay.
but also get them the best bang for their buck.
Absolutely.
So we are looking to recommend to our faculty what we think they should do to accomplish that goal.
Perfect.
So, but it's also possible because we are in the middle of a curriculum change. We
Okay.
are planning a curriculum change. One of the outcomes is also possibly, we recommend not changing anything right now until we see
Right.
what happens with the new curriculum. But
Sure.
we're taking this opportunity to look and see what our vendors have available
Perfect.
that maybe we're not utilizing or maybe that we are.
Perfect. And how long curriculum change are you looking at? Is it like a year or two away? Okay.
We're at least a year probably.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. And is it like a concepts that you're looking at, or
That's one of the questions.
is it? Okay.
I do think it will not look like it does now.
Right.
So
But you're kind of starting here and seeing what's out there, and
we're
then
looking for what can we find that will carry students across the curriculum instead of spend a lot of money, but it's only good for this course.
right. Perfect.
Is there anything else that I'm leaving out?
And the reason I ask is because if it is a concepts, we do have actually a concepts product. It's going to look similar to what we see today, but that's why I wanted to see If concepts was like a year out, I want to show you that and focus on that. But for now, I'll probably do individual course since that's what you guys are in. If you want to look at that at the end of this, by all means, I can jump through that really quickly and show you too. Okay? Perfect.
It's good to know that you have both.
Absolutely. Yep. So let's start here. I know you guys in fundamentals are what you guys call concepts, right? You use our product within the point. When I say product, I mean that you guys use our textbooks, but you also use the student and instructor resources within the point, right? So just to start here, the point, think of the point as a place. I know it's kind of confusing. If you grab some of the marketing material back there, you probably saw something called Course Point Plus, and you saw Pass Point. Everything kind of has a point on it. So if you get confused, just stop me and be like, wait, what are you talking about? The point is a place. So this is where you always go, whether you use a textbook, a digital product, anything, student or instructor, they always go to the point. So for a few of you, this probably looks very familiar, right? Very good. I'm going to look at, just because I have demo student information in here, I'm going to look at Hinkle. So this is our med-surg book, but don't worry, it looks the same for any course. I know we had talked about Marquee and leadership, so it's going to look the same with Marquee as it does here. Might not have a few aspects that we'll look at, but everything kind of works together. So no matter what course that you teach, it's going to look the same. I do have some student demo data in here, so that's why I'm just going to focus on this textbook. So as an overall view, since you guys are kind of just starting this process of looking, what are we doing as Wolters Kluwer Lippincott? So one thing that's really important to us is we realize that healthcare changes rapidly. It doesn't change with your new edition of the textbook 3 or 4 years. So what we're actually doing is in all of our digital textbooks, we update those every year during the summer. So even if it's Taylor, right, it's coming into a new edition in 3 years or whatever that may be, or for instance, Hinkle, this is a good example, Ebola, right? We started updating our content on Ebola even though the new edition of the textbook wasn't but 3 years out still, right? So we're constantly trying to make those updates as we go. Another thing that we just added in this last year is called Lippincott Advisor for Education. Has anybody heard Lippincott Advisor? Okay, a few. What Lippincott Advisor is a clinical database used in hospitals. So practicing nurses and doctors on the floor actually use this within hospitals across the country. There's thousands of hospitals that use it. And if they don't use it, they're using something similar to this. So what this does is it gives your students a way to actually use what practicing nurses are using on the floor. Drugs are updated every 10 days. Procedures and everything else are updated every 2 weeks. So when I'm talking overall view of what we're trying to do, we're trying to make your nursing education students graduate with the most up-to-date care and information that they can have at their disposal. Okay? And we'll see this throughout the product too. So what we're looking at right now is called Course Point Plus. So to give you an example of what you guys use, you use our textbook and I think the video guide, right? And then maybe Prep U piece, the adaptive quizzing. So instead what this is a full digital product that uses a digital textbook. We're going to have access to all this Lippincott Advisor for Education that's updated every 10 days and 2 weeks in the hospitals, along with adaptive quizzing and vSim that we'll get into later. But just to give you an overall view, that's kind of what we are trying to do as a company. Within CoursePoint Plus, we also give students access to Stedman's online dictionary. You'll see because you level 1, you guys use the Taylor video guide and Taylor textbook. These will all look kind of similar to you. So you have the concept and action animations, the videos, the case studies, et cetera in here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because this isn't really where the power is. But just know that as a student or an instructor, you have access to all of these things here. So as a student, if I want to look at a student view, I just click up in here, click continue. What I can do now is I feel like I have the knowledge acquisition, right? The understanding based on the digital textbook and the concepts and animations and the videos that you guys as instructors have made me watch at this point. Then I go into what's called Prep U Adaptive Quizzing. So for those of you that don't know what Prep U is, Prep U is adaptive quizzing. We were the first nursing education publisher that started using adaptive quizzing about 10 years ago. So what that means is that our questions are normed, right? Because so many students have been taking them over years. We do add new questions, obviously, as new nursing information comes out or new textbooks, right? Every edition will add new questions, but most of those questions are normed very well because we have so many students across the country that actually take these questions, and so we get to update them. So as a student, my next step is actually to take a quiz, right? So I feel like well, let me go back in here real quick. Yeah, let's view this one here. It's not showing me my student demo. Let me go back into the instructor view real quick. Sorry. So this one had some results. There we go. All right, so as an instructor, I'll go from this side. I can see that my students' average mastery level is at a 4.2. What that means as a whole is our white paper research shows that right around a 3.97, rounded up to a 4, that's where students need to be able to pass that portion on the NCLEX, okay? So a lot of schools will say, when you talk about a flipped classroom model, we might have students we want you to come into lecture to be at a mastery level, say a 2, because how many of your students are reading all the chapters you asked them to before lecture? None. 0? None students like it. Our goal here, I bet you guys have some A+ students that do. Exactly. Yeah. I hate to use the word force, but when you think about a flipped classroom model, a real way to force students into content and to make your lecture more dynamic and make them understand it is to almost force them into something like a Prep U. So when I say, I need you to be at a mastery level of 2 and that's your entrance to lecture, that essentially is forcing students to skim the content within the textbook to be able to have a decent conversation about what you're going over that day. Exactly. And by no means am I saying that it has to be a level 2, right? I just told you that 4 should be that magic number that they need to be able to pass the NCLEX. Let's say after your lecture, when you have looked at, okay, my students struggled here, I want to go into lecture talking about this subject matter. Let's say after the lecture, you ask them to be at like a mastery level of 6, right? So that we know, I mean, you guys are TBOU, you know that you want your students to be at a particular level, and 6 may be that number. It's up to you guys in the long run, but this is a good way that a lot of schools like to use it if you don't use it this way currently. What are some other things that we get? Just for your info too, PrepU used to actually be a separate company that we actually purchased PrepU from because we were by far the largest users. So we actually purchased PrepU. What does that mean? Future, long term, what that means is on the roadmap we have information like trying to do single sign-on. So for Blackboard or whatever LMS you guys use, we want to be able to integrate that within your systems. It also means that we're really focusing on data. So if you're not a concept school, what our attempt to do is if you're using PrepU throughout your program, we want you to be able to see how Jane Doe is doing course to course, whether she's understanding the materials she learned in fundamentals and how that's affecting her within MedSurg. So just as an overall view, this data is really important, and we're striving to even get more and more information for you as the instructors. So you can see here, this next view is just how many questions are they taking and what is their mastery level. As we know, before the student sits for the NCLEX, they need to have taken thousands and thousands of questions. I think the most recent number I heard is like 20,000 questions as a recommendation, which is crazy to think about. But by the time they...
Students always want to know what the magic number is, but I tell them there is no one magic number because everybody is starting from a different starting line.
Absolutely.
The finish line's the same.
Mm-hmm.
If you're 100 yards away versus a mile away,
right.
You're going to have to do more work.
Exactly. And the way I look at it, too, is no matter what adaptive quizzing engine you use, whether it's PrepU or another company's, I think ours is the best by far. But a good way to think of this, even if it's not in a flipped classroom model, is like you mentioned, Christine, we have two different students. We have Jane Does that might read. They're going to go through the videos. They're going to do everything that you ask them. And then you have your John Smiths who they're working on the side. You don't know about it, right? Or they just have other things going on. But the only way that we can attempt to level them out, whether they're reading before or they're coming in later in reading, is to have an adaptive quizzing engine that we kind of force them to do. So Jane's going to be really proficient in everything she does, and it might only take her 6 quizzes to get to that mastery level of 4, whereas John, it's going to take him 25 quizzes to get to that same level. But by the time they get to lecture, hopefully our goal is to try to even those 2 students out, just kind of what you're talking about there.
No, you did all the extra stuff.
You were the Jane Doe?
I think so.
I always use that same example, and I'm like, why don't I give John some credit every once in a while? I just Exactly. I know. I think that's probably why I always use that. I don't know. Then you have your assignment results, obviously, and these are really important here to show the chapter strengths and weaknesses. So when I talk about as an instructor, what I always do in these types of scenarios is, even if you use PrepU, kind of a little training tool, let's say you decide, okay, we're going to try this flipped classroom model that Stephen was talking about, where you get to level 2. But let's say you're in chapter 5 here, and you're going to be focusing on chapter 5 within your lecture. So what I would do as an instructor is say, okay, mastery level 2, where did my students struggle within here, so that I can actually use that to formulate my lecture. So another cool way to do that is using these misconception alerts. There's not enough data in here to show a really big example, but what happens is we find questions that people throughout the country that take these really struggle with, and you can actually pull that out in your individual class, right? So if you find that, well, this is a weird one, but temporal was the right answer, and then all students throughout the country answered it this way. The system is pulling out information on where are my students struggling. So if you go into a specific chapter and then you see that all your students are answering C, but the answer is D, the nation might be getting it right, but your students aren't, that's a big red flag for you guys, right? Either I'm saying something wrong to them or they're just misunderstanding. So these specific misconceptions are really important, and that's part of the data that is really important as well. A lot of times you'll notice, too, that sometimes your students might get it right, but the rest of the nation aren't. Either way, we know that this is a question that causes havoc on an NCLEX, so we might want to pull this out into lecture. Just an idea as you're thinking through, you know, how else can I use PrepU, or what else can I do here? We do have usage results, too. I don't know if you guys knew this, but we can see how many quizzes have been taken, how many per student. So we constantly have a pulse on what our students are doing within the class and how much they're using it. You can see that's probably during midterms. There's a spike, right, because they're constantly in here taking quizzes.
The class performance.
No, we don't require PrepU.
Oh.
We don't have it anyway. It's an optional. Yeah, so, Steve, let me ask you.
Sure, yeah.
PrepU that we had been optionally offering to students was just a bank of questions.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that? I mean, this is PrepU, so this is the optional, what you're asking your students to purchase. This is what we're looking at. Yep. Mm-hmm.
No.
Well, if you make it optional, I mean, go ahead. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I heard that, though. Do you have your credit card on you? I need to charge you. No.
This is what happens with students, though. They purchase everything that somebody tells them is great, and they are so stretched between resources that
Right.
they want the one that's going to be better. And I would say that among our students, PrepU has not been terribly used because you've got to spend enough time in it for it to adapt.
Exactly.
So if you're just trying to do a drive-by,
Right.
you're like, this is too easy.
Yep.
Because you didn't spend enough time with it. So, but I also don't want faculty to say, oh, this is we're never gonna sign anything out of it, it's just good for you to do.
Exactly.
Do it.
Right.
There's not enough time.
No. As you guys, and you guys know better than I do, unless it's a requirement, your students are not going to do it. I
And
mean,
even then, sometimes they don't.
right.
I had several who made it all
Yeah.
the way to the end, didn't purchase the essay,
Yeah.
practice or anything else.
And so I don't know if you guys pulled. I don't know if you pulled the one that says PassPoint back there for the marketing materials. PassPoint's our NCLEX product, but it's powered by PrepU as well. We have a 94.5% pass rate on the NCLEX for those that actually use it. But it's all about usage, right? I mean, they have to, there's a number that they need to get to, and they need to be in there actually taking quizzes for that to work out. But there is, I mean, there is white paper research out of UCLA is one of our big ones that shows there really is an uptick in NCLEX results for students that actually use PassPoint and instructors that actually require it. So you do.
And that's, because you're educating yourself not only about what's on the test, but how they're gonna ask it on the test. That's true for any standardized test.
Absolutely, yeah. And our goal here, which you'll see in a second, but it's really important, Christine, because what you're mentioning is what I like to call the oversaturation of the nursing market, right? There's tons of good tools out there, but there's also a point to where you get to, you're using 25 different things at one time. Our goal here is to really try to create a product like CoursePoint Plus that follows the student along from knowledge acquisition to quizzing to practice and virtual simulation to electronic health record actually charting all in kind of one spot so that they're not having to go out to 25 different places for their video, for their quiz questions and all those other things. So that's kind of our attempt as you're looking through this here. So as a student, for those of you that don't know how this works, I just want to show you a student can come in here and just take a quiz, or you can actually create an assignment. It's up to you how that works. It's up to the student, really. This is self-paced, so if they want to take quizzes, even though you haven't created an assignment, that's okay too. There's a psychology behind chunked learning. I don't know if you've heard of that term. What that means is we feel that students learn better taking the 5, 10, 20 question quizzes versus a 250 question NCLEX at a time. So let's take a few questions, remediate, and then come back and keep quizzing. Really understanding our strengths and weaknesses as we go, right? So I'm taking a quiz as a student. It's analyzing my past performance, right? And then creating new questions for me based on my mastery level. I'm going to go all B here. The best I've ever gotten is 4 out of 5, so let's see. I really just want to get to the data so you can see it too. I got 1 out of 5. Not very good. So you can see here, as a student, what they get to actually see is their mastery level currently for this topic versus their peers, so versus their class. So let's say you're using the fundamentals. Your class has this mastery level. You as a student know that, okay, if my class is here, I probably need to step it up. You as instructors actually get to see the mastery level versus the nation. So you get to see your class's mastery level versus the nation that have taken these same questions. So you're constantly getting an idea of where they sit. Really how students best learn. And this is a big difference, okay? So PrepU, what you guys recommend to your students, did not have this until about 4 years ago. What we have now are called SmartSense links. So instead of students just reading and understanding the explanation, because this is a digital product, they actually have a chance to go to the exact page where they missed this question. And I do a ton of student orientations also, and they all tell me if they're in level 2, 3, or 4 after they've taken this first semester, the way they best learn within the product is they find the answer, and they'll call all their red highlights PrepU questions that they missed. So that next time they come in here, they might slow down and say, hold on, I missed this question. I need to stop, read, make sure I understand this. All of these get saved within a notebook, and students can actually create a review. They can launch a review from all of their notes and highlights they've taken within this book. I wanted to mention this too because I know a lot of people get scared about digital versus a physical book. By no means am I telling you or your students no, you can't buy a physical book. This is the requirement, right? I'm not saying that. We're probably the only publisher in the world saying this is where the true learning happens. If you want that resource for a physical book, by all means, go get it wherever the cheapest you can find it, right? Whether it be Amazon, check, whatever you think. But this is where the student can come in, remediates, go back to their quiz. So let me see, I might have too many. Oh, I can click out. There we go. Go back to their quiz, go to the next problem, read the explanation. It's going to take me to a different textbook, or I'm sorry, the same textbook, but it'll take me to a different part within the textbook. So I can say, okay, there's that question. I missed this on PrepU. Add the highlight. Another thing that they can do is take a note. So important on test. You can save that. As instructors, you actually have the opportunity to write notes for your students and push them out if you want to. So you can hide little Easter eggs in there and say this will be on test, see who's actually reading or not. Things like that. I've had instructors. Right. She's like, no, they would never help me. Yeah, I'm still working on that.
Question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Is mobile optimized?
It is, yeah. So what we use is actually called Vital Source, which actually Elsevier and Pearson both use too. So it is publisher agnostic, if you will. So as long as students have a iPhone or whatever they want to use, they can have what's called the Vital Source app, either on their phone, tablet, or there's a Vital Source bookshelf. You guys may have heard of the Vital Source bookshelf on their computer.
So can you download the book that's right on the internet?
Yes, you would have to do the Vital Source bookshelf download, whether that's on an app or the actual bookshelf, and it's an offline textbook from there. Anytime that you are on an internet connection, all of your highlights get uploaded, but you can still read it offline. You just have to, until you're on an internet connection, will those highlights show
I'm
up.
going to suggest that we probably need to think about moving away from having to have a physical book in class, HA one. Assessment's the one that's not going to want to do that. But if the students can have access, then why does it matter if it's a
It
physical
doesn't,
book?
sometimes it's the student, occasionally, because I
Well,
I'm
sure, I
very,
mean, students
I'm
should
like, I
have
don't
that
care what
option.
you get if you want the book, but
But it's usually the older students that want.
they're like, I'm a paper person.
And they
Yeah.
can do that, but I think assessment is saying they have to have the paper for a while.
Oh, I think this is awesome.
In assessment lab, is there not a computer at each station?
No.
Did they take those out? I thought we had computers at all the stations. We could talk about having just a set of books in the lab for the students to use as a resource.
We had talked about that, but I think
What if you use the computer for people who have the login in, for some people wanted the book, they could go to those stations.
I think you can do that, but I think the vast majority of our students have a tablet or a smartphone.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, so
Good
we don't
access.
require people like, oh, we have to have a smartphone. 'Cause I have a company that still don't have a smartphone.
So I think we say you have to have access to the textbook, whether you do that electronically or physically,
Right.
you have to have access
Yeah.
in lab.
The only thing I would recommend, and not just with my company, but any others that you look at, is that a lot of it is personalized learning, though, now, too. So if you're not, again, making a requirement for things like a PrepU, that's the power here. Whether it's a digital or physical book, what we're doing is we want the John Smiths and the Jane Does to eventually level out. The way to get them there is by using PrepU, and then John would go backwards, right? Because he wouldn't read beforehand. He would go quiz, and then come in here and remediate like I did and do the highlights, right? So no matter what company you look at, it's hard to say either physical or digital, it's up to you, because really the power comes into more of the quizzing, because like you said, none of your students are reading anyways. Until we create a requirement around it, like a PrepU.
The book is there already. I mean, it's part of
The book's there. I went a back way, right? I went from quizzing to book. You saw earlier when I showed you where the content updates are, you could go straight into the book at any point in time. What happens is all these things are getting saved, the highlights and notes that the students are taking.
Is there a way you can demo what the notes look like?
Sure.
I thought there was a print option. Can you get a print preview?
Yeah. So There's your review mode there. If you want to just print all these out, you just decide on what units you want to print, right? So if the student had a test over 1 through 3, we're going to unselect all of these, do a print preview. That's what it comes up to right there.
Yeah, that's what I was, I really like that.
Yep, this is very cool.
And this is the guy, yeah, which is like something else.
Yep,
Nothing.
exactly.
They send you the stuff they know because it's complicated.
Yep, I get nerdy about educational psychology, but there's psychology behind students subconsciously always quizzing over the things that they know because it gives them that satisfaction. So a good,
That's why they want to retake the same quiz. so
Right.
they memorize the answer,
Exactly.
see a number that makes them feel better about themselves.
Exactly. There's real psychology behind that. And so what things like PrepU do is it pulls out your weaknesses, right? We don't want you to keep studying your strengths. Let's work on your weaknesses first and then remediate. And then you have your full review of the things you struggled with and go from there. Okay. I'm going to click out of here. We can always come back to it if you guys want to see it. The other thing I will note too while I'm here is there is a search icon. I think that's really important, whether it's an older learner or younger just out of college. Everyone uses Google these days. I don't care what age you are, right? So they come back from lecture and your students are just like, what was she talking about? Being able to search here is really important, really important. So we do have a search button, and it'll pull up really quickly all the pages that whatever they're searching is on. Yep. All right, so I am the student. I can go into view my overall performance or take another practice quiz. And as you can see here, I can see my mastery versus the other students in my class. I did 5. I can go in and quiz over that again. The thing that I didn't show before I move forward, because we have a lot to cover, is from the instructor side. You actually have the chance to, within PrepU, you can, I don't know if you knew this or not, but you can create a quiz on just the adaptive quizzing, right? So you can say, I want my students at a master level of 2, click go, and then there's no work to be done on your end, right? It's an algorithm that it understands where the students are. Or you have the chance to come in here and actually create your own quiz questions. Sorry, it's coming out funky on this. You can go in and say, I want to look at all the questions in chapter 30, and you can just pick the particular questions that you like, right? So we have a difficulty level. Like I said, our questions are very normed because there's so many students that have taken it. It is currently pulling easiest to hardest questions in this chapter. But if you find one that you like, you can just add it to, May. So here's my May assignment or whatever that may be. If you don't like it or you just know you're not going to cover this type of material within the class, you can actually hide this from all the PrepU questions. So your students will never see that. Even though it is an algorithm and it's taking the next question, just like the NCLEX, you can hide them if you don't think that it's necessary.
I have a question.
Yes.
A lot of questions.
No, please.
How many, approximately, and I understand there's going to be a range. Remember,
Sure.
what's the range of the number of questions available for quizzing for each chapter?
Oh, for each chapter? Now you're getting, okay. Chapter? I don't know.
That happens. Like
I-
sometimes people are
right.
like, okay, there's only 20 questions available for
Yeah.
each chapter, so of course their score's going to go up because they're seeing the same questions over and over.
Right. And I don't know chapter by chapter. I can get you that information, Christine, but I do know book by book. Okay. So MedSurg is going to have around, I think it's 4,500 questions. Now that's MedSurg, obviously. Maternity, Peds, some of the other smaller books aren't going to have that many. In PassPoint, which is our NCLEX product, it's similar to PrepU, but it's full curriculum. Most schools will use PassPoint within the last year just to start getting their students prepared. That's all encompassing, so it's full curriculum. That one has around, let's see, I think we're up to, it's either 15 or 20,000 questions. So rarely will they ever see the same, but it does happen. I won't say it won't, but if you're right. If you're in a chapter, you might see the same question, but it's very rare. And usually, just like the NCLEX, it's not going to bring you back to that question unless it understands that, Either you got that right or wrong, but we realize that you still don't understand that content, so we'll bring you back here again. But it doesn't happen. Not necessarily the same question. It'll be the same bank of, right.
No, I understand.
Maybe it's like a Bloom's text, like maybe it's like we're at a mastery level of 6, so we're going to be at level 4 Bloom's or whatever. So we're going to have that bank of questions within that subject, and we're going to keep forcing them in that direction. And Prep U works a little different in that students' mastery level doesn't really decrease. It only increases. So they get to a 2. They're not going to go back to a 1, right? They're going to just keep going. You had a lot. Do you have any others? You said you had a lot of questions.
No, I'm just saying.
Just overall. I love questions.
Stephen, as a recommendation, when a student purchases Prep U, you said it's the same bank. How does it look different? There's no instructor leading it. Is the student just able to see everything?
Students can quiz on any chapter that they want to at any time. You do not have to create an assignment at all by any means. The difference is, let's say that you create an assignment over, I think we're looking at chapter 5, right? Or whatever. You create an assignment over chapter 5, and you say you have to be a mastery level 6. Well, Jane Doe was really that go-getter and decided to get ahead. She's already been working in chapter 6. When you create that assignment, it automatically pushes her through. The idea here is we want students to be proficient in these areas. We don't care when they are. We just want them there. If you're looking at a concept curriculum type of idea, so you're in oxygenation and that student is going through oxygenation, by the time they get to level 3, they've taken enough questions to where they're at like a mastery level 4. That's okay too. Your level 3 instructor might say, I need you to be at a mastery level 6, so then they just keep going. But they're pulling oxygenation understanding from that particular student from the previous levels, right? We understand that they did understand it, but let's keep pushing them. Let's get them higher mastery level. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And this is for, what books are available through Prep U?
All of our books. At this point, all of them, yeah. I will leave Prep U open, but I will move forward here now, just as an overview. So what we looked at, and I want you guys to think of yourself as a student, whether you're Jane or John. I'm sure most of you think you're the Jane. That's fine. But we like to focus on John, too, because we want our NCLEX results to be good. So as a student, I came in here. I looked through Lippincott Advisor, right? So that clinical database that's updated every 10 days. I read through the digital textbook. I went through some of the videos, the case studies, et cetera, that I have here. Now I felt proficient. I feel like I'm ready. Then I actually went into Prep U adaptive quizzing so that I tested myself. My instructor created an assignment for me. I got to my master level 4, that magic number. What's the next step? The next step is called VSIM. Has anybody heard VSIM? So a few of you have. Good. So what I just showed you there is... Oh, yeah, Nikki, hey. Of course you did. What I've looked at here is knowledge acquisition. I have an understanding. I went and quizzed myself. The big missing piece, and we came out with VSIM about 3 years ago, has been that practice piece, right? How do I put what I've learned into practice before I get to clinical, before I become a practicing nurse? I want to be able to actually try to work on all of this knowledge that I have on a virtual patient. So I come in here. And as a student, you'll notice, remember those little SmartSense links that we remediated through within Prep U? I actually have those here too. So what we've done is in a low-stakes environment, before that student gets to clinical and makes a mistake, or before they get to your sim lab and make a mistake, we want them to be able to prepare. In this one in particular, it's Carl Shapiro. It's MI, and he's having some heart trouble. So as a student, I can come into either the textbook page, right? Let me close some of these out. I can say, okay, I feel like I'm ready. I understand that. For Carl, okay, it looks like I'm going to have to pump morphine, so it actually is going to pull me out to Lippincott Advisor also. So anytime you see those green links, you know that this is really a study tool for your student. I can take a pre-sim quiz, and when I'm ready, I can go see Carl. I don't know if the sound's on, but we'll see. It should be? Okay.
Should be the operator.
All right, so I get a small version of an EHR that I can always pull back up. This is not DocuCare, which we'll see here in a second, but this is just the electronic health record I can always pull back up as a student.
Hi, I'm Dan. I'll be your primary nurse today.
So for those of you that haven't seen vSim before, we partner with the NLN and Laerdal to create these. So if you use any Laerdal Sims or use any NLN case studies, you might recognize Carl. If not, that's okay too. What we've done here is every course has 10 patient scenarios, okay? So whether it's peds, OB, med-surg, fundamentals, pharm, they all are gonna have 10. You notice that nothing's happening here, and that's on purpose. This is a non-linear simulation, meaning that as a practicing nurse, are you told what to do next? No, we want students to think critically, right? They've already gone through the book, they've gone through their quizzing. At this point, we feel like they should know what they're doing well enough to come in here and work on Carl. So, I'll wash my
I'll
hands.
wash my hands first.
You notice too that I hear a lot of instructors will tell me, well, I'd be doing 5 different things at one time if it were me, right? But you got to realize that we're with nursing students, so the nurse actually explains a lot. You do one step at a time, right? It's forcing you to kind of learn as you go.
A little bit of a delay though, before you can just, like, they're trying to think through several things.
Yep, it'll slow you down. And that's, like I said, Nikki, that's on purpose. We want them to not necessarily do 5 things at once. We want them to slow down and think through what they're doing. In that same vein, there's a pause button as well. So if I were a student and I'm struggling here, I can actually come back in and go through my reading. Because again, this is a low stakes environment, right? This isn't meant to be a test for them. This is, we want you to practice. We want you to come back into your Lippincott advisor, your textbook, and read and be ready. Now, when you're ready again, you go back into Carl and you keep working.
Please state your name and date of birth.
Carl's not in a very good mood, by the way.
My name
I
is
wouldn't be
Carl
either.
Shapiro. I was born on July 19th, 1962.
It's all that abdominal breathing.
Everything matches.
So as a student, I can start, I can just make my way and start doing anything, right? So I can start pushing morphine if I wanted to. I'll go ahead and attach the pulse.
Pulse oximeter, which monitors the oxygen in your blood. It fits snugly around your finger, but should not hurt.
Notice how he explains a lot.
Okay.
Carl's not in a good mood. I warned you. But you'll notice the heart rate starts showing up. I can attach the blood pressure.
I am attaching this blood pressure cuff so we can monitor your blood pressure continuously.
Okay, I like that right there, because we're trying to teach our students to narrate their care. To explain things like that, not only to the patient, but when they start working with the preceptor, their preceptor gets a clue what they're thinking. You don't have to wonder.
Right.
We teach them that in health assessment, and we hope that, you know, it's a habit that they carry on, but you never know. It's their inherent shyness, that they don't want to say what they're doing. Yeah. But we force them in the checkoffs to say it.
Yeah.
We force them.
Very good. So you'll notice, again, nonlinear, I'm not doing anything. The system's just waiting for me. Most of the scenarios take around 30 minutes at most. So if a student just doesn't do anything and just sits there, it's going to time out eventually, and they get a score at the end. So all this is being graded, all auto-graded for you guys as instructors to see. So every single time that your student does it, you get to see their results and how they do. Okay?
So this is a med-surg scenario?
This is a med-surg. Obviously, they wouldn't see this in level 1 because Carl eventually codes. We'll see that here in a second. Yeah, so we have to bring him back, and then we have to call the code team and all that.
Can you show us the fundamentals?
Sure. Yeah.
Here's my thing, guys.
Like you try to get out of it early if they think I want to cut everything. For example, they said then that if he hasn't seized yet, he'll start squeezing it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so if you try to hand off, like you try to get out earlier, maybe, because it'll ask you, are you done? How do you end
Yep.
it? Do you just finish it off?
Yep, you do patient. It won't let me actually now. I think Nikki was talking about because I haven't done enough. Right. Okay, let's code. I'm just going to fast forward. Yeah, so you can fast forward as a student too. I don't recommend this. When I do my orientations, I tell students don't do this. But for this sake, I just want to get. There he goes. So you see the heart rate plummet here. And he's gone. Funny enough, like we do these at a lot of events, and students get really attached to Carl. I've seen a student cry before because they couldn't get Carl back to life, and they really get into it, right? And so yeah, I'm gonna kill Carl unfortunately this time. We'll see if he. Okay, it lets me. I got a 0. I did a few things right. But then I struggled. But the most important thing here is just like in Prep U, you've done your work, but then we really need to remediate, right? So the smarts and links, again, are constantly throughout here. We have other areas where you can jump out into the textbook, too.
You should have done CPR.
Yeah. My main opportunities for improvement are 3 X's, and then it goes to 2 and 1. Obviously, that's really bad patient care there. That I struggle with. Nope, I don't. I showed my wife how I do these. I'm like, I just want to show everybody that you can make mistakes. She's like, why would you want to kill Carl? You know, she's a nurse. She was like, why would you do that? But she really likes the scenario. She was like, I wish I had that when I was a nursing student. All right, you guys want to see a fundamentals one? Okay. All right. I don't know all of them off the top of my head. I know Vernon's used a lot. Let's see what he has here. With a stroke. Yeah. You want to look at Vernon?
Vernon's got diabetes.
Yeah, diabetes. Assessment. So just so you know, if you teach assessment, it's the same. It is the same characters and situations. It's just the assessment portion, and then it's a little higher level when you get to the fundamentals part. So they get to see the same characters, if you will. So as a student, I can come in here and look through what I need to go through before actually getting into him. I haven't done this one before. Not that it matters. Not that it matters the way that I treated Carl, but just say.
You might have said this already, but is the pre-quiz, do they have to do that before they move on?
They do not. Nope. So just great question. Thank you for asking. The pre-quiz is not auto-graded either. So the pre-quiz is up to the student to do. The post-quiz is auto-graded. So you guys, if you want them to do a post-quiz, it is auto-graded for you. You can see everything that they answer there.
Kind of brings everything
Okay.
together.
Something that I didn't. Sorry, go ahead.
No.
I interrupted you.
They oftentimes when you teach them so many things, when they get to a certain point, it's nice to be able to put the puzzles together. And then at the end of the semester, we do a great sim, and they're all like, "Oh, I wish we would have done."
Now I get it. Right.
Well, you weren't ready for this, but you might be ready for this
Yeah, exactly. This is in.
on their own.
I like the way you put that too. It's really the piece that's been missing is that practice piece. Like the students go through so much didactic, and they go through quizzing, and they feel like they get it, but we don't know until they get to clinical or sim lab. Right. It's real. You talk about critical thinking. This is critical thinking. Yeah. So this would be separate, yeah. So what we're looking at today is an all-digital adoption of digital textbook, Prep U quizzing, vSim virtual simulation, all packaged into one. Now, I'm glad you asked that. You can separate these out. So let's say you just wanted vSim, okay? You can purchase just the vSim, or you just want Prep U required from now on. You just use Prep U. I like to show it this way, though, because it's really the way that the student kind of thinks and wants to learn. Knowledge acquisition to... Yeah.
And you can kind of go, oh, you're fine.
So it
But
makes
there
them
are
more
some, it gets
Right.
to be frustrating.
It kind of does
but it's
force
built
them.
into your eyes.
Absolutely.
I'm going to put you first, but there's others that it's
Mhm.
that kind of.
Yep. We do kind of force them into a particular patient care. I think they might be working on that too, Nikki. Allowing kind of for weird, yeah, because I do get that a lot from instructors.
Taking it 5 times and you go back and look at the thing and look at
Well, you just need to flip it, yeah. It also gives, I mean, I think it's good too for being able to remediate, like actually look through, even if you got 100 on the first time, let's look through and then try again, yeah.
Kind of helps them build time management, these sort of things have to be going.
Yep, absolutely.
So how did you like it? Honestly.
It was frustrating at first, but
You
it
have to
was.
learn the
You
format.
have to learn the software. But once you got in there and kind of figured out, because I'm not gonna lie, the first time I think I sat in there for a good hour.
You're also, I know what I need to do, and I want to go, I'm going to do this. Yeah, I looked at it, and I was like,
Wait. Yep.
it would be different because we started. Okay, now I can do it. It'd be different, we started with it, right? So I tell you the rest one, yeah.
If you have ever done the online portion of BLS or ACLS, it's a very similar format. And there is a learning curve. Figuring out where do I need to go to click that I'm washing my hands. So where am I
Right.
I like that
So
it will
where
let
am I
you
going?
make mistakes. It will let you dial up a drug and give the wrong drug, get the wrong amount, and all
Right.
those things. And it lets you pull up the EHR right next to it and see the order. It shows you where it is.
Yeah.
I like really like this.
Thanks for bringing that up, Nikki. So yeah, you can at all times just pop these orders up. Every time you make a move, it actually puts it in your patient log here. So so a student can constantly pull up. If I had washed my hands, it would show up here. So it's constantly keeping track.
You know, when you started coding,
Yep.
you can hit call provider and it will. You can.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll go into either submitted order or.
Exactly. So I can go ahead and start pushing any drug that I want to. Like Nikki was saying. I don't either. It's probably a bad choice. If you haven't heard of it, I have no clue what it is. I don't think I was supposed to administer that. I'm pretty sure.
I have a question. They're having way too much fun.
Hey, guess what? You guys can all have access if you want to play with it. Oh, it was? Cool.
I would love to be able to play with it.
Yeah.
For the fundamentals area and just see.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm happy to give access to any of it.
Some things, it will start them out, for example, you've got and it'll start out with and you would know, I would never put a CHF patient flat then, or I wouldn't put some of their OB labs in them they didn't like some of the OB pieces, I would never put this patient in this position. Can you change? Well, they may start,
It depends on probably the, yeah.
Depends on the program, that they may have it
Yeah.
that way for a reason, so I'd encourage you to look at.
There you
the
go.
patient.
Yeah, you can. Sorry.
But it also has, like, the faculty resources don't give you the whole thing, I don't look at the scenario, so you can look at some of
Like what-
what it should have been.
What they're supposed to
It
learn.
has,
Oh, so you can see the.
yeah, and it'll probably reflection questions that are based on skills, but also we talk about it in like time management.
Yeah, we have, I think they're called implementation guides, Nikki, that people like Nikki have helped create. And so it really is instructor's best friend of what am I, teaching my students, and how do I tell them what they've done wrong and where to go from there. Do you guys want to see anything else before we move on? I haven't really done anything with him, but
Play with it.
yeah, we'll let you play with it. Just let's see if I can hand them off.
In case you're not catching on. Oh, you did very poorly.
Oh, I didn't even wash my hands that time. Golly. I know.
Because, see, it's
Yep.
all, that is fundamental, that's all fundamental stuff.
Mhm.
I like that.
So there's that sitting position we were talking about.
I think this also would help with a lot of the anxiety that we see with these students, because they actually visualize themselves in those scenarios versus pieces that they're trying to put together in the first day of clinical literacy.
And to be honest, I'm particularly with our ESL students, that's not the only time, we give most of this feedback verbally.
Right.
We have a lot of students that are not auditory learners, or certainly not in English. And so you're barraging them with all of these instructions, and they're only retaining 10% of what you just said. But if they could see it in writing,
And half of that time, they won't tell you that they didn't get it.
no.
Right.
No.
But see, here, they'll get it.
So the challenge that I have in assessment, which doesn't affect you guys in their class clinicals, is that we have very limited space, and in order to do all electronic, how are we gonna accommodate per person, you know, electronics when we have very little space, very little counter space, and not a lot of plugins?
When you think of this, don't think of this has to be used in class by any means.
It should have,
Yeah.
it should.
That was my
Right.
question.
Yeah, I mean,
What
when you
is the-
when you look at like a flipped classroom model, you would say, I want you to already have this knowledge by the time that you get in here. We want you to be at a master level of, say, 2 before you get into class. After lecture, we're going to have you get at a master level of 4 after I've gone through everything that I want to. We don't need your book in class necessarily. And then you have to go through a VSIM afterwards also that's auto-graded. So yes, it's good to have maybe an iPad or a laptop in class if you want them to have that resource, but by no means are we saying you have to have all of this content at once within here. Right.
You have a documentation system, that's
Yes.
document.
Like, yeah.
That's what she's really referring to.
Oh, okay.
Because in assessment, we would want them to set, like,
Gotcha.
set a document directly.
Perfect.
They have their textbooks with them.
Yep.
Everybody has to bring a textbook.
Okay.
And use the textbook to assess their patient,
Mhm.
classmate.
Gotcha.
And for them to have the computer there to.
The actual
I mean,
computer
we
there.
had books fall on the floor every day, 10 times a day, every hour practically.
Yep.
To have computers be falling on the floor and tablets be falling on the floor.
Sure.
While people are trying to do their work in their little curtain areas. That
Well,
can
can't they
sort
use their phones?
a lot of the phones, I mean, some people's phones, yes, but some people's phones, no. So we have some students
Yeah.
that don't even have cell phones.
Is your documentation system, is that also user-friendly for phones and tablets?
I wouldn't recommend a phone just because there's so much. We'll look at our EHR DocuCare here in a second, but even a physical or a digital textbook is not going to be user-friendly on a phone, to be honest with you, unless they have one of those big phones. I mean, but yeah, it's really not that user-friendly. So, and I want to get into EHR for sure, and we'll talk about kind of other schools that have your same question. Another thing that I want to mention too is, so I went in VSIM as a student, and I see that I clicked risk of aspiration here, and I can go find that within the digital textbook. And so another example of what students like to do is instead of the red, all of my pink highlights are things that I miss within VSIM. So now I'm creating my own little color coding system, just like you would a highlighter within a digital textbook, so that you know these are things I miss in VSIM versus PrepU, et cetera.
Do you
Go
have
ahead.
this for leadership? I know the leadership concepts will be covered in.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, we don't have it in leadership, and that's why I said it's going to be a lot of it, like PrepU and the adaptive, but no VSIM for leadership.
That makes sense, but you could do it.
Yeah, we could. I'm not sure if we're looking into it or not. I don't know if that's on the roadmap, but I can check.
You know, you could do, I can think of a few scenarios you could do,
Yeah.
but yeah. It's
And we're happy to,
integrated.
we're definitely happy to, work with you guys too. So.
For your VSIM, before we move on, you
Please.
said, so it's only these areas that you've got listed on your,
I think that's an old one. So assessment, was assessment on there?
it says health assessment coming soon.
Okay, yeah, we have health assessment.
You do.
Mental health will be ready next semester. Yeah, it's the end of summer for mental health.
Mental health.
Sorry, that's an old marketing material that I have there.
Anyone else?
So you said mental health is coming this summer?
Yes, end of summer it will be ready. Yeah, the last I heard was like August 20th, which is really late for a fall start. So
So there's 10 each, you said?
10 scenarios for each, absolutely.
Sorry, what did you say health
It'll be ready, or it will be pushed out live for people to start using on August 20th. So it's a hard fall. It's going to be tough.
Health assessment is? Yeah, health assessment.
No, sorry. You said health assessment? I thought you said mental health. Health assessment's out. Yeah,
Assessment's already.
it's out. Yeah.
Do you happen to have a list of like the subtopics for each area?
I can send those to you guys if you're interested, for sure. I better pass around if you wouldn't mind just telling me what course you teach, and I'll pass this around. Name, email, and course, and I'll make sure you all are hooked up with Course Point for your specific area, and DocuCare electronic health record, and any particular vSIM. Does that sound good? Okay. I haven't yet. No. Let's talk
And
cost.
I'll tell you what I said to Elsa here, same thing. We probably, in fact I know, because in a day and age when we are trying to save our students money, we cannot afford the Cadillac.
Yeah.
We don't need an Escalade, we need a
Yep.
Toyota RAV4.
But we want one.
That's all right, my Prius. No.
Maybe not a pre-owned, but it's gonna get the job done, and it's gonna last a good long time. But we don't gotta have, like, the
Yeah.
big cool seats.
Absolutely. So Christine, what I actually showed you is the Cadillac, but I did that on purpose. I want to show you everything we have, and then you can narrow it down. You can say we really like vSIM, or we really like PrepU in a certain area. If you want the Cadillac, you can purchase it that way also, just so you know.
The other thing that we would be interested in, I think, as you're looking at pricing structure, is if we have students that are going to drop out of the program, that typically happens in the first semester, sometimes the
Mhm.
second.
Yep.
It breaks my heart to see a student spend $2,000 on books and software and uniforms and then not make it. So anything that we can have that could be charged by the semester as they go through versus a one-time at the beginning is something I think that we would be interested in.
Okay.
That they could be refunded or somehow, like it's not, if it's not,
But if they purchased it, they purchased it. Like you received the product that you paid for. Just because you didn't use it is
Yeah.
not the vendor's fault.
Yeah.
yeah.
We hear that a lot actually, and I'll go ahead and take a sidebar. I know we're getting close on time, so let's do this when we talk about before we talk about pricing. We agree with you, and not other publishing companies don't necessarily do this. They still are on the idea of the big package at the beginning of the semester, and if you fail, you fail. We actually prefer doing semester by semester. We create sites for every school. So we just create level 1, level 2. Here's what it looks like. I'll do, I just did one for, I think, UTA. Let's look at that one. UTA. So I come in here as a student. Do you guys normally purchase, do your students normally purchase direct from the bookstore or kind of wherever?
Wherever they want.
All right, good. Get enough emails from my own company. I'm good there. So this is what we do for our schools. We actually create your own. So this would be TWU. If you use any digital products, we can put physical books on here too. But you see here there's Junior 1 assessment, Junior 1 clinical nursing skills, foundations, and then it jumps into Junior 2. So they purchase course by course. We also have a financial aid option. So instead of having to go to a bookstore, what we do is we give students a 30-day trial, essentially, but they're in your course. So they're getting in your course. Once they get their financial aid, they contact us, and then the check goes through, and then they have full access. We also do what's called a bookstore rebate up there. So if a student buys from the bookstore versus us, we provide them the payment of the difference because we are usually a lot cheaper here because it's all direct, right? Digital products are direct to the student. They get about a 25% discount for UTA's case. They do an 18-month version of DocuCare. It's $199. It comes down to $155 for 18 months. So that's the idea. So that UTA, for instance, loves this because they went through the same issues with a certain publisher that I won't name that would charge them a whole separate your student failed in level 4, they charge them a whole nother round of materials for their retake, which ended up being $1,200, I think, which was just nuts. So we don't want to do that. So we have them do 1, 2, 3, 4, all separately, and then they can add to the carts at any point in time.
Just show them that could allow you to do your weekend program separately since it's sequenced differently.
So this is a page that a student would go to make purchases.
Right.
See what is required. and-
Exactly, Dion, yep. Yeah, it's just like an Amazon cart, right? So you add all your J1 stuff to a cart, and then you check out. And then once they're there, all it does, it takes you right into the point what we were looking at, and your course, you're all already there. They don't have to do any registering. The only thing they would have to do after that is if you have a class code for Prep U, right? If you want Junior 1 Foundations in a particular Prep U, they just have to know your class code. You're done.
Oh, we can't build that in here?
That'd be sure to be
That
for the
would be
students to mess
cool.
that up, man.
Yeah, the only issue there, though, is that your roster changes every semester, right? So then we'd have to, well, we could update this every semester too, but.
Just a quick question, so when it says 18 month or 12 month, does that mean another course could use it in there?
Yeah.
So as long as it's, but then that could mess up the people that failed.
Yeah, what happens when a student falls out of their cohort? They have to repeat a class, they have to stop out, that happens
Yeah,
fairly frequently.
absolutely. So what we looked at today so far is called Course Point Plus. Every course is 12 months of access. So usually a course will run 6 months, right? If they fail, they can have it for an extra one. MedSurg is different. MedSurg is 24-month access. We are looking at creating all of our Course Point Plus access into 24 months eventually, so where that never comes up. Between you and I, usually if that happens and they are, let's see, 2 semesters behind for some reason, I'll usually just give them a code as long as I know from the faculty.
Are they able to change their course code?
Yep, absolutely, yeah. So within DocuCare, for instance, I know we haven't looked at it yet, but you notice that there's 24-month access to DocuCare. So how does that work? So in fundamentals, they can use a different class code. So students are already purchased DocuCare. They never have to purchase again. All they do is enter in a different class code, so they're in a different course every semester. So fundamentals, and then they get into PEDS and OB and MedSurg might have different courses. It's very simple, might sound tough, but all they do is just add. That DocuCare piece never goes away on their point account for 24 months, and they just add another course depending on how you guys
So
set it up.
I'm curious, when they go to DocuCare,
Yeah.
if they've been registered for 3 or 4 classes, do they see each of those classes still there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into there. I'll keep this up for purchasing so we can talk about this later. The next step really after practice within VSIM is let's actually have the students go in and document. What's different about our DocuCare, by the way, this is the #1 used electronic health record in the nation, which is really exciting. All of those VSIM cases and scenarios are already uploaded within here. So all the NLN scenarios that we work with the NLN and Laerdal are already in here. So for instance, we looked at Carl Shapiro, right? So he's already going to be located here. So if you want to use Carl, or you want to use this in the clinical setting, there's both ways. Thank you. You can do that both ways. So back to your question, Dion. Here are my active classes. I only have 2 right now. But for instance, I'm in fundamentals, and let's say this one's MedSurg or something, right? So all the student does is, you notice there's just a little different access code. So they do one purchase, then they just get into different cohorts, if you will. Does that make sense? All right.
So just a quick question, they have to purchase the whole entire packet even though we may only use parts of the packet? Because we can't piecemeal the certain things that we want, for example, just throwing that out there, because there was another company that had offered sort of piecemealing, where we could take this aspect of that course and maybe another aspect rather than taking the entire one.
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying. You can. So like Course Point Plus, I showed you Prep U, VSIM, and now I'm showing you DocuCare. So just so you know, DocuCare is not part of the Course Point Plus package, by the way. It is separate, and that's because every school uses DocuCare in a different way. either all clinical or clinical and VSIM, or I use it in this class, this class. So we have 6-month intervals for DocuCare, all the way up to 36 months. So you can purchase any of them. For CoursePoint Plus, what we looked at, you can buy each of those pieces separately. I showed you them all at once because that's kind of the learning path that a student takes. But by all means, and we'll talk about pricing for each individual if you want to.
Now, this was part of the Visa menu.
It was part of the Visa menu, so if you didn't purchase it, if a student didn't actually have it in their course, this wouldn't take you anywhere, right? So if you actually didn't have it within your point account, it would not pull you out to DocuCare. We just put it there because it's convenient, right? A lot of schools like to go from VSIM working on Carl Shapiro into VSIM, now let's chart on Carl Shapiro.
And does the instructor have the ability to block certain things? Like inside, you can block whatever creates your own coding. So it's
Yeah.
like the other ones.
Yeah, the only difference as far as, so you can create your own case, or you can actually come in here into, is this Carl? Yeah, you can come into Carl and actually edit his case. So it starts from the NLN scenario and the VSIM of what we looked at, but you can actually come in here if you want to make sure your students see something a little different. Right now I'm in what's called editing this case. So as an instructor, I can edit a pre-existing case or I can create a new case. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. No, you're fine. Please, keep going. You'll notice, too, which I love, throughout all of our products, everything pulls out to SmartSense links. So this is MI. I'm going to pull up MI within Advisor. So even if you didn't purchase CoursePoint Plus and you guys say, we all just need DocuCare, we know we need it, you're going to get access to this Lippincott Advisor procedures information that's updated every 10 days.
Oh, whether you have it or not.
Whether you have it or not, yep. So in this instance, what I have is DocuCare. So let's say, all right, we're all purchasing, we decided we're going to use DocuCare. Students will have access to Advisor for every particular scenario, right? They can't go to the main screen where they can see everything, but they can see MI because they're in Carl Shapiro's case right now.
In these purchases, sorry, I keep asking.
No, please.
They're for the time frame, that's all the time that they have for that use of that system. But the book, the electronic book, if it was downloaded, they have that.
Absolutely, perpetual access, yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. So for CoursePoint Plus, they get access to their digital textbook forever, as long as it's downloaded. All right, so DocuCare. This is, we created DocuCare about 7 years ago out of Tennessee. It's gone through about 12 iterations now. It is the #1 used electronic health record within the nation because of ease of use. It's created by instructors, for instructors, and we constantly get feedback, and so we update it as we go. For instance, the Notes tab. A lot of instructors are asking, where's the patho? Why doesn't it look this way? Because they might be used to their Cerner or Epic in practice. We are a learning company. This is a learning tool for students. We don't expect them to know a Cerner or an Epic, because even if they did, every hospital Cerner or Epic looks different, right? They're all customized in their own way. So what we've done is create an educational system that's easy to use for both instructors and faculty. So in that vein, we actually put the Notes tab on top, because so many instructors said, well, why don't you have this or that or this? We said, well, let's just move the Notes tab up top so that students can enter in any kind of note that they want to. I'm in assessment right now, for instance. But you'll notice at the top here, I'm under assessment, and then I go from neuro, cardio, respiratory, etc. All I do is click.
See, the JavaScript that we use right now, we have diagrams that go along with what we want the students to learn, the terminology, everything the diagram. I guess this would just be directly returning, and like they use their textbooks to help them guide them through the steps of the EMT, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Exam. So I don't know. I'm trying
Yeah.
to wrap my head around how this would work in a practical sense without having crashing computers all over.
So I actually wanted to go back and tell you too, because you were talking about the computers and having, so a lot of schools will use this in a clinical space too, to where they'll say their sites don't allow them to be on the internet and things like that, but we are still using DocuCare because that's how it's being graded. So the way that they do that is we actually have full handwritten charts for each of these patients and blank ones that the students can use and come back in and actually chart. So there is a way that, you know, that's kind of the way that they do it at some
So they
points.
print out.
Yeah. So they print out what it looks
What
like
about the
is.
actual assessment diagrams, like diagrams of the chest, diagrams of, is there anything like that?
Not that I know of. Let me look at the resources real quick.
Sorry, these guys are all med surg people, so.
No, you're fine.
Your assessments all in all our courses.
No, I know, but I mean, I'm thinking the practicality of actual assessment, you know, the course itself, like how this would actually work. You know,
Training,
with the
feedback.
limited electronic availability.
Or are they running?
They're not even functional.
Here are our patient forms, by the way.
And they complain bitterly that they make them do double work. They write it, plus then they have to go now and put it in the computer. That's double work. I want her to get the computer fixed. I have asked. Isabel has sent tickets, and they say they fixed it, they're not. They're still having the same. It's like a virus. It's like a virus. The computers in the lab are trash. They're not working properly. Half of them don't work.
Are they on the 3-year replacement cycle?
They haven't been updated for years.
So in other words, nursing has to pay for that, is what I'm hearing.
So that.
Because if nursing paid for all of those, that's not coming out of IT's budget to replace those.
No wonder they're not working now.
So,
No, they did. When we very first moved in, everything was beautiful.
well,
And then over the years.
I know, but that's been now, what, 5 or 6 years?
I know. So that's what I'm saying, like, those haven't been updated since we moved in.
And like our office computers are on a 3-year rotation cycle, that's not true necessarily in the lab.
Right.
So I think that we need to consider, do we get rid of those desktops and replace it with something that's mobile?
I would
that
say
can be
yes.
used? But we've already got laptops down there.
Where is it?
Oh, they're in the lab, we just have to say we want them. They're like leaves.
Where? I've never heard of this.
They are docked in the control room.
Oh, like locked away.
Yeah. Well, they're locked away, they're portable.
This lab is a laptop. And those are like functional.
They should be, I mean, they do get used in high fidelity systems.
That was another problem we had because we have limited desktops in the lab, you know, in the lab itself. People were saying, well, none of the computers are available. Everybody's trying to fight for a computer because we have maybe 8 computers for 30 people. That's ridiculous. I don't know if we have enough laptops for 30 or 40 people.
We wouldn't, we would not have enough for everybody to have it at once, so we have to,
Well, we don't even have 8.
so Lynette, the question becomes, how, if we adopted a technology like this, how would we use it?
Right.
Right.
And, you know, would it be in class or not in class? I don't necessarily think it has to be in class. I
Yeah.
think that's better. Or you rotate through what, say you've got a group of students working together. This week your role is the documentation. Next week it's somebody else's role is the documentation. Kind of like simulation, you trade around the roles. I think that there are ways that we can do it. I don't want to just chunk it out because we don't have 40 computers available.
No, I agree with you. I'm just trying to like wrap my head
Right,
around how to
correct.
fit it.
Right.
The only thing I have with that is that a lot of our English was a second language. By the time we get to the end of the semester, they finally got it how to chart. Like it took them the entire semester of us beating it over there.
And then then the ball gets dropped.
Okay.
And they don't continue that growth rate.
But these are all printable, you said.
Yeah, so I pulled up a printable form to
Or,
somewhere.
Lynette, send them to the computer lab or reserve a computer classroom.
We
And they
did
do
that.
their stuff and then they go.
But see, that's what they were saying. They were doing double charting. They were doing it in handwritten, and then they're doing it in computer. Go ahead, Tanya. Were you in our double charting group?
Well, I didn't go to computer lab, I got to take it home and do the SimChart, and SimChart, I be wiser to have, okay, you know, those of you who have a laptop, that you can, you know, bring it. I know what you're concerned with, but if computers are a larger expense, why not have a computer station that you set up where people bring their own laptops within the lab? Does that make sense? Like, this is our computer table, you know, or those little.
The bedside table.
Bedside
There's a
table.
whole table in the middle.
Yeah,
And there's the whole wall
of
where.
a computer.
I do not disagree with that, but what I will say is that IT will not support the personal device.
What do you mean support?
So if you have trouble with this, you cannot call IT and have them fix it. It's your personal computer.
Right.
But you have help, don't you?
We do.
No, I'm not saying, but you would be logged into your and on the Wi-Fi here, so it wouldn't be a.
Yeah.
You have
And
live
just-
chat help? Sorry.
Yeah, we have live chat help, and just so you know, we actually, any digital adopters, I come and talk to your students if you want me to. So I do tons of student orientations. I just ask that you get me in early. We tried to fix that learning curve a little bit by getting into their head at level 1. You know, it's browser agnostic. Here's your tech support. Your faculty and staff are not your tech support, right? Here's here's how it, and most importantly, what I go through is I go through the systems of PrepU, vSim, DocuCare. I say this is how you use it, so that it takes the time off of your hands. How do you get into it, right? This is how you can be successful using it. This is what I hear from other students. You know, that they like using 5-question quizzes in PrepU versus 10 to 20 goes fast. You know, those types of things. So I do offer that support also on my end of things, and we do. I will say I've been with another publishing company before this, and we have great tech support. All they know is digital nursing technologies, and they are wonderful. They're really good.
Because this is how it works. We have 2 students, one plays patient, one plays examiner. So when the person who played examiner wants to go chart their stuff, the person who played patient is twiddling their thumbs, waiting for that person to get off the computer to come in so they can switch. So I don't know.
Because there's one computer, you're saying, right?
No, I'm
Per
just
group
saying,
or?
logistically,
Oh, gotcha.
patient is a student who's waiting for their turn to play examiner, and the examiner play patient.
Well, how does it work now? I mean, how does
That's, well, we have textbooks. We have textbooks and they handwrite it. We used, right, we used to have them handwrite it and then go chart it in SimChart, which they complained bitterly, which
But
I totally
the
understand.
student who is the patient's still waiting while the other person's in, right? Which takes
Well,
a
they,
while.
as they go along, they're doing stuff, they're charting, they're doing stuff, they're charting. Then they switch right away as soon as that student's done. Sometimes the student is charting while they're getting an exam, you know, like while
Okay,
they're.
now, I'm gonna say this out loud, and I understand all the reasons why it is not this simple. Is it better to teach them from the beginning that you've gotta hold that stuff in your head and chart it after?
Or just put bullets down.
They literally.
Because that is an infection control problem. You're
Yeah.
going patient to the paper, the patient to the paper.
I agree.
We are teaching them very bad practice.
I agree.
That you can only hold like one thing in your head before you write it down.
But the thing is,
But
the
their
ones-
anxiety
their
is-
so high to get everything on paper because they've A, never done this before, B, they've never even charted anything before probably.
But isn't that part of the learning curve? Is how much can you remember?
I mean, we can try
And
it.
and do you have fewer gaps at the end of the semester?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a thing to try to compare from prior semesters. I just know the anxiety level will just be through the roof.
But part of the anxiety is that they believe that we don't allow them to make mistakes.
True, but I think they're trying so hard to get it right. So,
But if we are letting them get away with what would be bad practice.
yeah, it is bad practice. I absolutely agree.
Then, you know, I feel like we're setting them up later when we say you can't do that. They're like, but I was always allowed to.
I mean, we can
You
make
know,
it
go in my
rule.
MRSA room and write things on my paper and take my paper out.
So when they melt down, I'll send them to you.
But they're gonna melt down whatever, melt down regardless.
I don't think every single student does that.
True. Some of the A students don't, but
Yeah,
it's our ESLs, English as a second language, and our slower students that are just panicking because they feel like they're not able to even grasp the concepts or
Then we have to stop grading them on it being if they have to, if you went to, I'm just saying it out loud, if you went to a model like that, you would not be grading them on how much that they did per month. You would be grading them on, okay, are you making progress with how much you're remembering to take to the computer?
I was
Are you
gonna say,
making progress? Like, what you did get down, was it accurate?
I'm okay with that personally. I don't think everybody on my team will be okay with it, but I am
Well,
personally
sure.
okay with it.
But I just think that we give the students the message very early in J1 that mistakes are not okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because they just get the message, we're gonna fail you if your hair touches your collar, and if you got a scuff on your shoe, and if you just didn't write this exactly right, and
No, I agree.
and I know it's not all coming from us, but I understand why they get that message, because we are constantly telling you, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this.
I'll put it out to the team, and I think maybe we should try it this semester and give it a go. At least, even if we're not doing anything else, at least try you exam and then you chart.
You know, I would use the analogy of, you know, you go to a fancy place and your waiter does not write things down at your table. It's part of the mark of excellence that they remember everything that the people, and they practice that.
Right.
And now
They
practice it. Hopefully more
Attentive
It'll
in the
take you.
moment.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, but the middle of the road is jot down bullets. Allow them to jot down bullets.
But it's the going back and forth between the paper and the patient.
Right,
That's the problem.
No, but if you're standing at the bedside and you've got a mini notebook and you write down, 120/82, and then you keep assessing for those students who can't
You
remember.
gotta wash hands before you
Yeah,
go back to
see,
the patient.
that's her point.
And we are not requiring that.
Yeah, we're not
But my point
enforcing
is
that.
You
that
gotta wash
for the
hands before
ones
you
who
touch
need
your
the help,
paper.
you
Yeah,
can
see.
offer it.
But I'm saying, that's the part I'm saying.
No, I agree with you.
Because I see all kinds of, by the senior semester, there's no awareness
Right.
of this idea of transmitting germs.
And I mean,
They wanna write everything down, and they wanna write it in
Tell
an
me what you just
isolation.
said.
what did you say?
As a tech in the ER at Parkland, I'm sorry, I know we are totally.
No, you're good. I like listening. I love it. I'm good.
As a
This is all in
I get an hour more, right? No, I'm just kidding.
As a tech in the ER at Parkland, I watch nurses as they're assessing a patient, they're charting, gloves on and all. So
Yeah.
when I go clean a room, I'm like the lights across the keyboard.
Yeah.
Every time, if I don't get anything else, I'm getting that keyboard.
Yeah. I do.
But
That's a really good point.
it is,
It's sad.
Well, but
It's
then
in
again,
practice
you
right
can't,
yeah.
I
be
think that.
so obsessive because sometimes we'll bend down and we'll pick up a trash can. We're not always gonna go and wash your hands. If you wash your hands when you walk in and you wash your hands when you leave and you wash your hands if they become
Visibly dirty.
right, that's about the best we can do.
Yeah, but nurses have this idea that if you put on gloves when you walk in the room,
They
that they are
don't.
bacteriostatic.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're not.
And you remember when we had that?
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
so
like,
I mean,
wear
there's a
gloves.
presentation on that.
Is the gloves for you or for the patient?
So Christine, I'm willing to do this semester coming up, regardless of whatever else we're doing. And I'm gonna put it to the team and say, look, this is what we're doing, and Christine's okay with it,
And I would also challenge,
What are we doing exactly? I'm sorry, we're not.
Okay, we're talking
We're
about,
allowing them to assess, wash hands, assess the patient, then they chart. And they can sit and chart while they're, instead of going, do a little bit chart, do a little bit chart, do a little bit chart, because they're not washing their hands between those.
but they're also not, you're doing that in clinical though too.
Yeah, see,
They go
they
into
learn
clinical, and they
bad
go in the
habits.
room and do a little bit, and come out, a little
Bad
busy,
habits.
and they go back to the room, and they do a little, students are masters at looking busy in clinical, and they will stretch that assessment out the whole time they're there.
That's really true.
Telling you.
They're not learning the whole concept of deal with my patient, wash hands, go through my chart. You see, that's what we're complaining about. Now, again, it's not every student. Some of our A students, they are like, bam, they're doing the whole assessment, boom, and they're going to the chart. A lot of them, there's some that are not in that category at all. But it's our slower students, our ESLs, our, confused students that are not catching this habit. And they're creating a bad habit. They're making a bad
Yes,
habit even
that's
worse.
the
Like it's
issue.
reinforcing a bad habit. And I'm with you.
And it's not just infection control, it's also time management, you said that.
It's more time management,
Right.
because, the infection control piece, we can get so, using it if you term anal about it, that we're afraid to
No, seriously.
Yeah, I like it.
We do need a balance, but we also need to allow that students are doing these things to learn, not to demonstrate mastery.
Yeah.
Certainly.
A J1 student is not demonstrating mastery.
Correct.
And maybe you tolerate a much more abbreviated form of documentation.
And I gotta tell you,
What you can remember, is it well done?
in my experience too, with an electronic health record, DocuCare in particular, every school uses it different. Not even every school, but every course uses it different too. So think about it that way. We don't have to do it a particular way in assessment versus how we do it in fundamentals or med surg, right? Every course can have a different strategy. That's however you guys look at it. I think it's important too.
Write it all out, where if what I see on here is check the box.
But check the box is what they're going to be expected to do.
Which is the reality, which is the.
And we
work
have,
we're seeing in the
yeah. So we have all these you can print out too if you want for your students as well. We have tons of these within the student instructor resources also. Just want to show you that real quick. I also wanted to show you that these Smart Sense links are held throughout. So we're in nursing diagnosis here. I can create one using Advisor, which they have access to, or you can create their own. Okay, and it's a learning tool. So by at any point in time, they can come into activity or intolerance and have everything here at their fingertips.
I know, right? Right there.
Right?
I know.
Instead of having to go to your textbook, right? Exactly.
In clinical. I think we need some type of documentation. I don't think we do enough documentation.
Well, and remember when we have looked at products before, the issue that we have had is that students cannot necessarily use this in the hospital, and that was a deal breaker for us in later semesters. I do think it's possible that with the curriculum change that it looks to me like I think that we're going to wind up separating didactic from clinical. If that's true, they'll be in the lab more consistently, be able to carry this through in the lab.
I think that would be awesome, honestly. If the lab contained the full day, you know what I mean, of every aspect of what you're doing. You're not just going in there and practicing giving a bath, but you're doing everything you would when giving a bath.
And you're also in the lab enough to understand the environment, and you're not just, well, the only thing I've learned in lab this semester is one diagnosis. You know, we did one simulation, and I was there for 2 hours. Like, it would be more intentional and more purposeful. But again, that's a big assumption.
All right, I just have a few more things. I'll keep no, you're fine,
Do you
please.
ever get that complaint from faculty about that that their students can't use the EHR product?
That's the biggest complaint I ever get. And it's the thing is like you're mentioning, it's the way that we decide we want our students to learn. I mean, it's the way that we decide that we're going to have them chart, whether it's printing off those or just having them memorize it or only using it for their VSIM scenarios. It's just depending on how you guys want to do it, how you think your students will learn best, and how they'll most effectively use DocuCare or an electronic health record they use.
How much is that for the 2 years?
So the way to look at DocuCare is it's essentially, we do a 6-month interval, so it's $50 a semester. $50 a semester, pretty much. It's right around there. So you decide on how no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, so say like first semester wanted to use it and the next semester, there's no discount if they made a 12-month document.
No, I'm building in the discount just because you guys use another digital product, prep you kind of, in fundamentals. As long as you use one or more digital products with us, you get a 25% discount on our site that I showed earlier. So the discount's kind of already in there with the $50.
And the $50 is however many courses need to use that document.
However many levels, yeah, however many semesters you want them to do it for.
Well, I mean, in like that first semester, 3 different courses need to use DocuCare.
You would do an 18-month version of DocuCare.
But 3 courses within
In
that.
one
Oh,
semester.
within the one semester, yeah, they only buy 6 months, and they can get into as many courses as they want
$50
to.
for 3
Yep,
courses. Okay, okay,
absolutely.
So-
Yep,
So if they're buying it for you, I could use it, yeah.
right.
And we can use it however we want it to, even if it's just once or twice.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
One portion
You
of
could use
it
it in
and
like
A
class.
lot, yeah, or classes, yeah. We do tons of case studies, and during lecture, we could have documentation as part of it too.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna keep getting off.
Nope, you're good. Please, these are all questions you're going to have anyway, so by all means. I just quickly, I want to go through one other product, and then I'll talk about support and some other things. The next product we have, you may have got marketing material for, is PassPoints. Now, this is our NCLEX product. Here's our NCLEX RN PassPoint. This is the one I said we have a 94.7% pass rate, I believe it said. 94.5, thank you. What PassPoint is it is essentially Prep U, like you guys saw, but it's full curriculum, right? So this is full curriculum PassPoint. We have everything here. We also have, so remember there's over, I think it's 14,000 questions now in this product. So you get to see how a student's doing either by concept, so you can search by concept in the whole course, by chapter, however you want to look at it. We also have given students access to NCLEX practice tests. So think of this two ways. You have your PassPoint Prep U piece, right? You have your adaptive quizzing throughout the whole curriculum. And then you actually have standard exams, so NCLEX practice exams. So we give them unlimited access to. That's really important because I know a lot of times these tests can cost up to $40, $50 a pop, depending on the company you use. So we give them unlimited amounts of NCLEX practice exams. As an instructor, you can have students take anywhere from 75 to 265 questions at a time. This is another product, PassPoint, that has 6-month intervals also. So we have a lot of schools that'll say we want the students to only buy in their level 4 semester, so 6-month term because they're getting ready for the NCLEX. We have others that want to do 24 months. They want that last whole year to where students can really work through questions. And then we have schools that use a 36-month version of PassPoint where they use it from fundamentals and then they have 12 extra months after they graduate, right? So there's different versions here that you can think about how you would like to use it. This is new. Sorry, go ahead.
Did you say that this is somehow, the information from Prep U and this somehow married together?
It is, but the good news is they are different questions. So if it's course by course, so let me go back, I'm sorry. I'll go into the question library. Let's say you're using it for fundamentals, Prep U piece for fundamentals. These are different, completely different questions than the fundamental questions in Prep U. And there's over 14,000. So you can see here, there's just tons of different questions. We can create filters. So if we're only looking for specific concepts, right, or Bloom's levels, client needs.
That was my question, is if you could filter by client needs. See, look at you anticipating.
I'm
Those are the
ready.
NCLEX categories.
Yep.
I wanted to ask it for you because I thought about you.
There's your client needs there. So you can just look for questions on those or Bloom's levels, etc. You can create questions within here also. And it works the same as what I showed you earlier in that you can hide quiz questions too. So if you're going through a particular client need and you say, I don't think that's going to be covered, or we're not covering that, you can hide those also. But the main thing here that I want to point out is we did add, it used to PassPoint used to just be that adaptive quizzing piece. What we've added now is the unlimited NCLEX practice test you can push out to your students. So a good way to look at this is, let's have my students in level 4 or level 3 take a practice NCLEX test, see how they did or what they did wrong, and then immediately start working on their weaknesses within Prep U. Right? So then they can start using the adaptive quizzing engine. So for instance, do you guys use it ATI or HESI or anything?
We do use
HESI?
HESI.
Okay.
And what we're currently using, I teach the capstone course. The product we are currently using for practice is Sylvester Q&A.
Okay.
Because it's only like $40.
Sure.
And it was one of the only products I could find at the time that I started requiring it that would allow you to sort by client needs.
Oh, really?
That's how we have
Perfect.
the course set up.
Gotcha. Very good. So a little difference between like this product and say a HESI or an ATI is that we do not consider ourselves a predictor. So when they take this, we're not going to say, oh yeah, you get a 765, you're definitely going to pass the NCLEX. We do not say that. What we are is we're adaptive. We're more the formative, right? We're more of the formative quizzing. Yes, you can take practice NCLEX tests, and you can use that knowledge to directly go straight into PrepU quizzing and start working on your weaknesses. Now, I say we're not a predictor. We do have enough white paper research to where we know that right at that 3.954 is kind of the magic number that they want to be at within each client need or within each concept. So we have that knowledge, but by no means do we say, oh, you know, you're definitely going to pass the NCLEX because you scored a 765 here. Does that make sense? Very good. All right. I'll leave a pass point here too. The last thing I want to go through is our training resources. So,
Can I ask, I'm going to
please.
have to go give a student test, but
Okay.
what is the price point
Yep.
on that?
Sure. Let me pull that up because I don't know that off the top of my head.
Christine, while he's doing that, just a question. So
Sure.
if we do something like this,
Sure.
and our counterparts in Houston are using Elsevier heavily, and that means that we will probably deviate.
We have a lot of courses that are using different textbooks
And that's
between us
okay
and
with-
Houston. It's okay for right now. I don't know if it's going to be okay for the doing. But I think this is an opportunity for us, if we were wanting to try some things, for us to go ahead and try some things and advocate for, you know, what we tried and why we tried it.
Do we get a trial of this, or no?
Yes, I don't.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, you can. No, by all means, I can do up to like 6-month trials. So for like assessment, if you guys want to test it out with a small group of students or the whole class, the only thing I ask is that we do have kind of a survey at the end to make sure that you actually are using it instead of just, you know, not actually giving it a shot. So there are certain guidelines we ask that you do, but we do offer.
Yeah.
Sure. Yep. Especially since you guys are looking more long term right now. Anyways, if you want to try in the fall, just let me know. Okay, so pass points, Christine. I don't have the full discount on here, but so a 6-month version of pass point is $174.99, but they get a 20% discount direct and online. A 12-month code, which is usually the most popular, I would say, is only $199, so it's only $20 more, but they get a, yeah.
Probably not. The tool I use for NCLEX, I bought it at the beginning of S2, but I didn't use it until the month I started for 100%. I didn't use that till the 5 days before NCLEX. So I bought 6 months worth, but I used it for 5 days.
And when you talk, yeah, you didn't need it. You're not the John Smith. You're the Jane Doe. When you talk about student trials, this is one I really recommend, especially if you have some of those students that are having trouble on the HESI. Have them, you know, if you need like 5 codes, just let me know, and we can use PassPoint to really find their strengths and weaknesses and see what they think.
That's awesome.
Yep.
My question about PassPoint, I'm going to bring that up. You said it takes you back to PrepU for remediation. How, if you have to have both products then?
No, sorry. So PassPoint as a whole is powered by PrepU. Yeah, the only thing we've added now is that NCLEX practice test. So the student takes an NCLEX practice test, they immediately do get their strengths and weaknesses and can go remediate through
They know
PassPoint,
it's
through
not
PrepU.
linked, but they do
They're right there. Yeah, no, it's all in one spot for them.
And it's not the same question, it's not the same test bank.
No, different test bank. And so the difference. Yep. Client need, yes. Yeah. And so the difference between, and by no means am I calling ourselves a competitor to a HESI or an ATI, because like I said, this is not a predictor. Most of the schools that use PassPoint actually use it in conjunction with one of those predictors, okay? But the difference is they take that NCLEX practice test, they can remediate right into PrepU. The other products, there's not anything like that where they can go directly into a digital remediation tool. They have to go to a separate book or something else that they purchase to go in and remediate. So we give them all that access.
Bessie takes them, it actually links directly to a business rate. It's part of the HESI. Where do you get it? They're a part of it. It's part of the HESI.
They do. Oh, I didn't know they had a remediation tool. That might be new. I don't know.
And it's massive. The bank is massive.
Is
It
it?
takes you to 10, 15.
I should have mentioned too, in PassPoint, they do get access to Lippincott Advisor also within PassPoint. So they have the clinical database, yep, everything they'll have access to. So the last thing, thanks, Christy.
Thank you, sorry.
No problem. The last thing I will mention is your resources. So if you work with us, you actually get access to, and I didn't have this in my last company. This is awesome. You get your own training coach. She is not for your students. She's just for faculty. All she does all day is work with faculty. So if you're working on DocuCare or something, right, and you're just like, what does Steven say? How do I create a class? You actually can call Kim immediately, and she's there for you in-house. No, these are people that work for us. She actually is used to be a nurse, and she came on with us full time over the last 2 years. Yeah. So I think I don't know Bick very well. Julie was a practicing nurse also. So yeah, they're really good, and they know our products better than I do. So it's kind of it's a cool, if you do use a digital product with us, it's a cool relationship we have in that you get somebody. By all means, you can ask me, but you guys aren't my only school, and I am traveling a lot over North Texas and Oklahoma. I'm here. No, don't get me wrong. You do have me. You have me. I'm yours by all means. Ask anybody that actually uses. I can help, but when it comes specifically to training, like you need help on a product, you have somebody like Kim that's there, and me. You can ask me too. I'll be there for you. Next thing is, we actually created these training tools. So we were told by faculty that I just want somewhere that I can go and actually train myself. Yes, we can come and train you in person by all means, but these are really good. So everything we looked at today, like CoursePoint Plus, you have modules for you as instructors that you can actually go through and watch. Yeah, very cool. So if you want some other information on how I can use PrepU in class, I can just go ahead and watch these modules and take a quick quiz afterwards. Something like that. Yeah.
Module 1,
Ooh, that's loud.
accessing the product.
We won't go through all that. And then you have an even higher, so this is more like course integration and beyond. So you've gotten through the Get It Starting training. Now I actually want to go through how do I really use, let's say, the ebook to implement into my nursing curriculum. Some of those higher level thinking, how do I really integrate this product? So again, more modules. And the last thing is tech support. We have awesome tech support. They are off on Saturdays, but they're mostly available usually when students are studying, so we make them available Sunday nights. Yep, but they're great. I mean, honestly, they're the best. They're local, not local. They're actually in Philadelphia, but they're all English speaking and very good. They know these products. So that's important. If you are getting into digital products with any company, you want to make sure that the tech support is worthy, Yep.
Steve, you
That's it.
talked about integration into Blackboard
Mhm.
or at different LMS. You're saying you guys are working on that?
Yeah, that's kind of a long-term goal for us. It's on the roadmap. I can't tell you exactly how long that's going to be. But since we purchased PrepU, that's kind of so currently what you can do is you can create an assignment and copy and paste a URL into your Blackboard, but we don't have the deep linking, whereas they can quiz right in Blackboard or anything quite yet. So we're getting there.
So
But
they have to access.
yeah, they have to get into the point, which I don't know if I mentioned, it's browser agnostic too. You notice I'm in, I think, Internet Explorer right here, but it works on all browsers.
Yeah, and the Sims actually ran
Pretty well.
pretty easily. They had
I don't even like Internet Explorer. Honestly, this is like when I saw you pull it up, I was like, that's my last choice of browser. But you notice it works. You notice it still works fine. So
Okay, so how do we get access?
I have your info here. Would you guys like me to give you access to both no matter what course, DocuCare and PassPoint also? I was thinking probably.
I'm not that interested in PassPoint.
I'm not that interested in DocuCare.
Okay.
I am interested in DocuCare. Just give it to me. Just give it to me.
I'll just give it to you.
Just give it to me.
I'll make you. You know what that means?
If you're going to use it, if a student's going to pay $50 for it,
Right.
actually, we can use it at some point.
I think the documentation, coming from a student, the documentation needs to go from day one on.
Yeah,
I
I agree.
say
That's a
you're
good.
saying
Yeah.
I had another question about, can you I don't know if you have anything finally you want to say, but I just wanted to see the Lippincott advisor.
Sure. Yeah, advisor.
Is that the page where everything, like all the resources are?
Yes, I think
So
so.
for fundamentals, where would skills be? That's what I'm looking for.
Oh, okay. So advisor is literally a clinical database. So you could have everything throughout advisor at any point in time. So that's like what is used in hospitals, right?
That's what I was.
Is that what you're looking? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
So here's like the main screen. So if students get access to CoursePoint Plus, they get access to Advisor, all of this information that's used in hospitals that are updated. Yep. And if you even if you scroll down, we actually bundle it down by concepts also. So if you are looking for a particular concept, like fluid and electrolytes. Sorry, I'm going down a rabbit hole. What's really cool here is you notice, look how updated this is, right? So constantly updated. And we also have these on the right and left side, so we can link out, let's say, to the patient handouts, right? So we say, okay, I need a patient handout for this. That'll link you directly out there.
Yeah, 'cause we have lexicon in the hospital.
Do you have, is there a nursing, I saw nursing diagnoses, that was through,
Let me go back. Hey. Right here.
oh,
Care plans.
that's part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you have a drug resource, you have a nursing diagnosis resource, all of that?
Yes. I'll go back to the main page. Here, there's your drugs,
Oh, so we were looking for skills, I'm sorry.
your guidelines.
So if, where we do our skills now is on the point, where would that be?
Okay, so you actually would have. It's actually Lynn. Lynn is the main author name. It's okay. We actually have a separate Lynn skills. Find it here. CoursePoint. The CoursePoint Plus is actually giving you access to the same vSIMs that Taylor has. So if you use that Plus, you won't need Plus here. Does that make sense? Okay. But all of our videos are located here in modules.
I asked him about it, and he said he didn't know if they've been updated, and that, did you say you hadn't heard that there's issues in the videos?
All I know is that the Taylor Lynn skills videos are the most used in the even if people use other textbooks, I hear that they all use the videos. So.
Can you start, which one would you know? Giving a bed bath. Can you find that?
Giving a bed bath.
It's right
Do you know
there.
what? Oh, did I have it?
Assisting with the bed bath.
What module was I in? Comfort?
It might be under, no, it'll be under hygiene. There it is.
There, giving a bed. Yeah, that's the same one.
Yeah, we've been having
Same video?
Seriously?
You don't, is it
infection control issues.
really? Okay.
Yeah, it's safety, bedside rails down. I'm trying
There's
to
been
think.
a bunch of things that students have mentioned. That I told them you might remember.
I think it was gloving, because that's infection control. It was like moving from one to another, dirty to clean, this is a gloving issue, and then bedside table, bedside rail, that was down. I don't know, there's just
If you, I was saying too, if you guys if you actually see stuff in there, I mean, that's just a better case for us to update the videos in the first place. You know what I mean? So if you have those, please send them to me because I want to know that stuff.
So we need to make a list if we use this next semester.
Yeah, even if you want to have your students like help you find those things, that's a great way
It's a
to,
good learning thing.
that's a great way to, yeah, exactly, and let us know those
Sometimes they
things.
think it's a problem, but it's really not.
Right.
And so we'll go in and we'll go, hey, you're standing right there. Don't
Yeah.
look at me down, or something like that.
Yeah. So the difference with this versus just the quizzes versus just the videos is we actually have quizzes for these videos too within CoursePoint.
really.
Yep. So let me go back. They get access to all of this information, and then if you go to a video here, let me go back. Sorry. So if I go into, what was I at? Hygiene. Here's your quizzes. And these are auto-graded for those students. So they can go and take a quiz.
I've also heard of instructors that assign a group of questions, telling them that there will be a question on the next exam from the exam,
Oh, that's a good idea.
to make them do it.
You don't. This is course point for Lynn skills, so we don't have like a Prep U adaptive quizzing in here, but it's specific to the videos, right? So video quizzing, that type of thing. It's more modular based than like a course point is.
You have to complete it. You're not going to get a grade, however. there
By the
will
way,
be a
the
question or two from that group.
the pricing is awesome on this. Also, this is $112.50, so it's less than the cost of a textbook. $112.50. It's less than
We
the
currently have
cost
them
of a
buying
textbook.
videos, we have them buying the book.
The book.
We have them, what's the other thing?
But they don't have to buy the videos, they get access to that through the book.
No, they do have to buy that.
The videos have
Oh,
always been.
no, I'm talking about the CDs. Sometimes they'll buy the CDs, but all they need is the code, right?
Yeah, but the Lynn skills videos, I think there's like 140, but if they buy just the textbook, it's very limited. I think there's only like 40. So the actual video package,
That's what the problem has been.
yeah,
No, they've always had to buy, it comes in a CD case,
Right.
and it's a code. That's
Oh, they-
$100?
Gotcha.
yeah, it's
an
$100.
actual case, even though there's no CDs in it.
Yeah, so the separate Lynn skills videos is $100, but if you buy just the course point that comes with the digital textbook, it's $112.50 after the
And the
discount.
book itself is,
Yep. So that's why this is a great deal here for sure.
and there's no way to track their progress on this type.
It's not going to have the data like the Prep U does, no, but it does have the quizzing data from their video modules. So all these are getting graded, these quizzes right here, so that you do get to see data on their quizzes.
Oh, if they completed it.
Yeah. But it's not going to be the same as like Prep U adaptive quizzing.
No,
right?
no,
Yeah.
but you can see if they did it.
You get to see the student results, yeah,
And their grade, I don't care about the grade, I care what they did.
that they went through it.
Because the more important thing is the remediation anyway. If they miss it all, if they remediate, they're gonna get more out of it, so.
Well, I was just thinking in preparing for lab, if you go through, if we tell them they had to watch a video before they come to lab and take a quiz, they did, and we're gonna cover that material, because the whole point is that you didn't.
Just the ones
No,
that
but
are class.
It's a timing game,
I know.
it's a time commitment.
But if you went and had to take a quiz and you realized you didn't know anything.
Are you a visual learner? What kind of learner are you? Don't tell me to do the verb. So I will, thank you.
All right, I don't want to keep you.
Very good. Do y'all want to talk about costs for Course Point Plus? Yeah. Do you want to talk about costs for the full Course Point Plus? I know we didn't get to that, but so like if you were to do,
Like everything.
yeah, what we call the Cadillac. So if you do, let's say fundamentals, right? You do fundamentals, then you're getting the digital textbook, full Lippincott Advisor database, the Prep U, adaptive quizzing, and the VSIMs. So everything as a whole. It is, for 12 months, it's $215. $215. That is for one course. That's for fundamentals, right? But, okay, so keep in mind, too, Lippincott Advisor on its own, that clinical database, is, first of all, thousands to buy in a hospital. For a student version, it's $100 if you were to buy it separately. VSIM, each VSIM is $100 if a student buys it separately. You're already at $200. We're not including a textbook yet, so you get a digital textbook. Prep U's $100 separately. So putting all that together in the way the student learns.
Our current price is around $500.
What do you mean, the visa?
They're not learning that way, but.
I know they do, because you know how I know people will copy questions verbatim from the case studies and put them on exams, and they didn't miss them. They missed them. Verbatim. Same exact
start with, then we go directly to what?
So you can either you can do course point for skills, what we just saw, which is 112.50, if you want to, or if you think that within Course Point Plus there's enough for them, they're going to have the videos, just not near as many, right? So you can put those together. Most schools do. So UTA actually, now that I have them on their mind, they use both. So they do the Lynn Clinical Nursing Skills Course Point, and then they do Taylor Fundamentals Course Point Plus. So they have the VSIMs.
That would take us about
300. What did I see? It's right around 300 because it was 112.50 and 112.50 and
I'm like.
215.
I know, did you, so.
320.
Did you buy those girls when you're called or funding them, and they were gonna put that criteria?
You can choose, you can buy a haircut.
I bought it for, I didn't have
See, I'm not about teamwork, I'm flexible, I just wanna make sure I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, totally. And how much were you paying for those? Maybe 12?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, probably around there.
When you think about Advisor itself with the care plans and the drugs, and that's what happens is a lot of the big packages that you're used to, the Advisor takes care of most of those things, and it's updated, right? So you kind of don't think about that big package anymore. You think of kind of separating it out, and it's cost efficient. The big question really, it's more cost efficient. The big question is digital versus physical, right?
Yeah. And
That's the one you get to.
That's the why, but my inclination is that with the skills, like, the skills you get.
Because you guys remember you used the book?
Yeah, the book is happening, it takes ability to know what I'm reading to, but if the book is still downloadable.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Yeah.
one you put on the app, is that right?
The phone, yeah, or the book, yes.
The whole idea is, if they don't have, if they have a choice between the electronic and the book, majority of students of the millennials are going to choose the electronic.
And how would that work if someone wanted?
What I always do during student orientations, that I tell your students, this is the requirement. Course Point Plus is the requirement. Kind of like I told you guys, if you want a physical book, I'm not telling you no, you can't have one. I'm saying if you want one, go get it wherever you can find it for the cheapest price, because you're going to use that as a reference tool. And then you have to have this because you have to take your quizzes in Prep U, and you have to take your VSIM quizzes. You have to have the Lippincott Advisor. So you have to have this, and this is, or if you want a book, you can. Now, I always say too.
There are people with really bad internet connections, like me, in the country, and they can't access all these things, and so they need a book. I know.
Sure.
No, but if you download it, it's online.
Yeah, that's what we're seeing. If how many downloads?
You can download it?
If you download it, yeah.
You get 4 downloads.
4 devices.
So you can download that book 4 times.
Well, the book, yes, but.
Hi, Stephen. I'm sure I'll be emailing you. Your
Absolutely.
podcast is amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it is awesome. Thank you. I love
Yep,
hearing that
thanks.
too.
All right.
You get my card?
I did.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Hey, Shofa, I'm gonna call you. They're gonna do their midterm, it'll be done today. I'll try to get to reviewing questions tomorrow, Wednesday. I'm gonna go to Nina.
Sure. Yeah, let me write a note.
I know Christine said you were whatever.
Well, she never heard the price. She left before the price. It is. That's the thing, is if you think about the cost that you're having to do a drug book, and,
The inconsistencies, I know it doesn't bother everybody, but it really bothers me that everybody Googles their drugs. I do not like that.
Well,
Yeah.
because then they don't get the same information.
Well, I had 15 different things for
Yeah.
nitroglycerin.
I remember I did too, for the SIM.
For the SIM, I'm like, God.
Set up a VSIM for health assessment for
Yes.
Grange and Nolan.
uh-huh. Did I have them down there?
Yeah, for Grange, for Nolan and Grange, and she's down there right here.
Okay, so we just need
Well,
assessment. I'll give you the
yeah.
assessment
She
Course
just-
Point Plus.
Okay, yes, assessment, yeah.
Golly.
Yeah, VSIM.
Assessment. I'll give you the Course Point Plus, which has everything. So VSIM's just on that third.
And, okay, it has a VSIM health assessment
Mhm.
on there?
Yep.
Okay.
It'll have it in there if I could write.
Okay.
Oh, I know. I'll get it.
Okay.
So, Nolan and Grange got it.
Okay.
Stephen, I don't want to leave you with this huge mess back here. Do you want me to?
What do you guys want to, I mean, do you want to put it in a faculty lounge or?
I can, but do you want to take some home?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. That's all yours.
Actually, you might, Cindy, you want me to get you a card?
I think a car would be better.
I'll help you break it down though, for sure.
I'm going to do it. Do you think Philip has one?
Yes, she does.
Nice to meet you.
Absolutely nice to meet you guys. Thank you. Thanks for your time, everybody. All right, I'll help you. So what I did was just to have somewhere to put the chips. I actually,
Oh, that's why.
yeah.
Okay, okay.
So we can actually dump these chips and then put it on there. This one goes there, I think. Well, I mean, I actually got I got it for 15. I was told there'll only be up to 10, but I was like, you know, it's always good to have more versus not enough, right? All right. Uh-oh. Thank you. Good. I love doing these lunch and learns because I find that a lot of people haven't seen these products at all, you know, so it's good to show off what we have.
So they hire nurses to do those, so I was asking if they're nurses. At some point, I want to switch to teaching online majority.
Yeah.
I teach a lot of online, but when I retire, I mean, not that I'm that old, but when I quit working.
Yeah.
So they hire nurses to do this kind of
Yeah.
teaching?
Mhm. Yeah, if you're interested at all, you know, let me
I
know.
might be interested.
We actually have a few nurses that are just faculty that we met, and now they're full-time like customer success managers. Like they get in contact with other, you know, faculty and say, hey, I used this product when I did it. Here's how I best use it. That type of thing. So I think you would too. Just let me know. Hey, I mean, I can get you in contact. So.
And I love working here as well.
Yeah, the thing about it though is you don't have to necessarily go full time and do it. You can do it part time for us on the side. And a lot of times that works better because faculty say, "Oh, you are an actual instructor currently." You know, you're not just getting paid and working for the company necessarily. I mean, you'll get paid, but you're not just the Lippincott company person.
I was teaching
you know.
for Kaplan. I just quit about a month ago.
Oh, really?
Loved it, but it was too much.
Yeah, too much travel and stuff.
And it was, the high volume stuff was right there, right in the midst of everything.
Yeah.
And it was just too
Well, you're busy
stressful.
here and also having to, that's tough to do. We have a good group. I mean, we're up to, I wouldn't be able to tell you. I'm sure it's like 15 to 20 by now throughout the nation, obviously. So they're kind of, but it's helpful because if you have to say no to something, it's okay. We have other people that are willing
Well,
to
that
do
was
it.
the problem, is she didn't have anybody else, and so all the pressure for this Dallas
Oh,
area
no.
came on me. And then it's retail, so
Yeah.
it's a little bit different in that students, you know, they're our students.
Right.
Retail is so much more kissy, uppy,
Right.
which I'm good at. But if you only have them for 3 or 4 days and their anxiety level's so high,
Yep.
it makes you anxious.
Right.
Or
Exactly.
it can, doesn't
Mhm.
mean.
Yeah,
I'm
for
gonna
sure.
check into it.
Yeah, shoot me an email.
I will.
We'd prefer that you have some, obviously some history with our product, just so you know it better. But
Well, I
by
know
all
the point.
means,
I mean, I've
yeah,
been
you
using
do know
the
the
point for
point.
years.
But like, even if you did, you know, if you did a group of students and you tried Course Point Plus or something with fundamentals or assessment,
Good.
that's enough.
I love
you know
that.
what I mean?
I love that VSIN. That is like,
I know, it's
I'm in
great,
love with
isn't it? We do too. If I could start off with that, I would. I mean, I guess I could, but
I'm gonna take your card.
please.